All right. Spoon, Devon Witherspoon, the top cornerback in DJ's mock draft. I think that's Jeremiah's top cornerback as far
It's
as his
this guy.
personal rankings as well. I love Spoon. Love Spoon. I don't love him as much as Christian Gonzalez. And what do you think? What do you think about Detroit going back to the well at cornerback here? They're bringing Emmanuel Mosley. They're bringing Cam Sutton from Pittsburgh. They have long term aspirations with Sutton. Mosley's on a 1 year prove it deal, but when healthy, he's an excellent defensive back. Jeff Okudah seemed to turn the page, but maybe they're not completely sold on him. They got some other pieces behind those guys now. Would you go cornerback here? And if you do cornerback, are you taking Spoon over Gonzalez?
No, I'm not taking Spoon over Gonzalez. But listen, there is an alternate universe. It's not far off alternate universe that Devon Witherspoon is cornerback one. The only issue I really have with him, man, is he just doesn't have the size that Gonzalez has. That's it, man. That's it. So I'm gonna give Christian Gonzalez the nod. I think Christian Gonzalez is a little bit more fluid. Obviously, probably the most fluid cornerback in the draft. I don't think there's an argument there from anybody. But who? Listen, you can never have too many corners, man. Witherspoon, Gonzalez, whoever it is, cornerback. And again, you said it. Mosley's on that 1 year deal, man, prove it deal. If he goes out there and balls, or if Witherspoon, let's say they draft Witherspoon and Mosley, and they're kind of having those guys go in and out, sharing some reps and different things. You'll figure it out with Witherspoon if he hasn't figured out year one. And if Mosley's balling, you sign him back, man. It's kind of a win-win there, man. I don't, or maybe you trade down. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a position to trade down here because they've kind of covered up. You've done what you did in free agency to cover up some of your holes on defense so you don't have to press when it comes to the draft. So maybe that's a position they could do as well.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Drew Harris. Corner is not the biggest need, especially what they did in free agency. Like you said, Mosley, Sutton, they got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, another guy that could cover also. So, maybe they go against the front seven, the defensive line. Tyree Wilson's still on the board, but you might want to trade down, like Drew says, man. And I think Nolan Smith maybe could be a surprise player here at number 6, especially what he did after the combine. But Witherspoon, if they stay pat and draft Witherspoon, you can't be mad at that pick because the intensity that he plays with, he's 180 pounds. But if you watch that tape against Michigan, man, just time after time, this guy was blowing things up in the pass, in the run game. It doesn't matter that he's 180 pounds because he plays like he's 210. So, more physical than maybe a Christian Gonzalez. And Gonzalez is pretty physical as well. But, Spoon probably has more physicality than him on the perimeter.
I think there's a potential that the draft gets really interesting with the 5th overall pick. But in my personal opinion, I think this is the point where, things can go any number of different directions, right? Detroit can draft best player available. They can obviously, again, continue to make that concerted effort to fix the back end. They can go get a offensive playmaker if they're so inclined. They have 2 first-round selections, and I agree with you. We're all in the same boat. You guys be on the lookout for a 7-round mock draft on the Detroit Lions. The trade down scenario is something that you have to consider, considering how well they addressed their needs in free agency. I think it just gives you that flexibility. It gives you the latitude in order to add additional draft capital and still potentially come away with one of those 3 corners. And, and when we talk about those 3 corners, it is Gonzalez, Spoon, and Joey Porter. You know what I mean? I think any of those 3 guys obviously could be a fit. But as Drew always says, if that's your guy, go get your guy. Don't play with it. Go get him. You understand what I'm saying? So Witherspoon, I imagine, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Jeremiah was probably the first individual draft analyst that I saw mocking Spoon as the first corner off the board, as well as to the Detroit Lions with the 6th overall pick. So he's been really consistent from that perspective.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, 7th and 8th overall picks, Las Vegas and Atlanta, respectively. A couple of highly rated defensive prospects here, Tyree Wilson and the aforementioned Christian Gonzalez. Consensus cornerback 1 here at Couch Potato General Manager. Helly, tell me a little. I shouldn't even ask you. I should ask Drew because you're one of the first people who were like, "Yo, Tyree Wilson is something. It's a player. I think he can make his way into the first round." And we're talking, September. We're talking about September of 2022, and here we are in March, late March, and he's a top 10 pick, and he's been considered a top 10 pick for the last couple of months. So, Drew, I'll actually start with you. And Tyree Wilson, you mentioned that he's a little rough around the edges. What do you like about him, though?
He's got the size. He's got the violence. He's got some heavy hands. He's got the stuff you can't teach somewhat. Those traits that you can't teach from the position. And if somebody can get a hold of him and mold him into the player that they think he can be, man, you got a hell of a player for the Raiders. And the Raiders need guys who can tackle. And he sure as hell can tackle. And he's got that what do we call it? Tackle range. He's got that tackle range that you want from the position as well. So, yeah, man, this looks like a Raiders pick, man. You know, they like them trait type players, man, and things haven't worked out lately for them with first round picks for whatever reason. I don't know if somebody put some voodoo on them boys because they left Oakland or left Los Angeles and went to Las Vegas. Somebody did something to them, man. They might need to.
Man with the Los Angeles.
All of it. They done left, went back. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're still being sued, but yeah, man, it's I don't know. They might need to repent or something. Because first round picks have not worked out for him, bro. I'm just telling you, might have to get on their knees, get baptized, something, bro. Clean it up.
Josh Jacobs would like to have a word. I mean, it took a little time. It took a little time, but he would like to have a word with that. What about you, Hele, as far as Wilson and specifically the fit in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I love the fit. If you watched the Raiders play defense last year, they couldn't tackle, and the defense was terrible out there. So Tyree Wilson. Big time disruptor. And the thing about Wilson, even if he doesn't make the play, he's usually causing havoc, causing chaos in the backfield in a pass ordering game. He's just a load to handle. Remember watching him, like you said, in September against, I think, Anthony Benson, the left tackle from NC State. And he kind of dominated him, man. It was like, okay, which one of these guys? And Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 270, the length, the strength. The only thing is you just don't see it consistently all the time. You don't see that burst consistently, and when he doesn't get that burst, sometimes he gets stalled out. But he's a big man. He's a traits pick. I don't have him as high in my grade as some of these other guys that I like a lot more.
I mean, it is a traits based approach that many of the area scouts and NFL front offices are leveraging. Right, they're focusing more on what you can become versus what you are currently. You know what I mean? And then they're going to rely on their respective coaching staffs in order to bring that talent to the forefront. So Tyree Wilson is high end clay, right? There's some molding that needs to happen here with the player, but certainly there is a lot to like about him. I think before we move on to Christian Gonzalez, I think DJ touched on it a little bit. Chandler Jones wasn't as effective as the Raiders would have liked a season ago. I think at this point in his career, even though he's making a pretty penny, he's more of a part-time player, right? He's more of a situational player. And I think a guy like Tyree Wilson really allows Chandler Jones to be a difference maker. You know what you're going to get from Max Crosby. Tyree Wilson now in the lineup, taking on some more of that early down work. Obviously, you can move him around. You can move him inside on passing downs. Any number of things you can do with him. But if you let Chandler Jones just focus on hunting as opposed to having to hold up for upwards of 40, 45 snaps, get him more closer to maybe 30, 25 to 30 snaps, I think you're going to be an improved defense just on the strength of that alone. All right. Another player that I wouldn't be surprised to see land in Las Vegas is Christian Gonzalez. And of course, Daniel Jeremiah has him landing with the Atlanta Falcons, along with AJ Terrell. That's really formidable. Now we're talking Richie Grant, Jessie Bates. That's an exciting secondary. You are a Falcons fan. What do you think about the potential of those four starting in your secondary?
Man, I love it. I've been calling Christian Gonzalez to the Falcons for a while now because we got AJ Terrell, sticky lockdown on that side. So the Falcons ranked 31st in pass defense, and it's probably more so they can't get after the quarterback. So and we've tried to get after the quarterback, and we just have failed. So what's the best next thing? Let's get some sticky cover corners where they can stick on the receiver a little longer. So maybe you could generate some pass rush up front. So Christian Gonzalez fits the bill. I think he's a complete corner. His versatility, seen him play outside, inside, zone man. He'll help him run support, and it's the fluidity for me because he just no wasted movements. Just how he moves, man. Movements. His key to life is movements, man, and he possesses that in high abundance.
High abundance.
You like that?
Hey man, yeah, man, I love it. Hey man, movements have always been the key to life, man. Always been the key to life.
Listen, the most fluid. I don't even. After you come out with those words, I'm coming out with my words. The most fluid, or the most fluidest players in the combine, where's Gonzalez and Bijan Robinson, man? And you can't say enough about how fluid Christian Gonzalez is, and he produced this year in terms of a couple of interceptions. So I don't like this for the Falcons just because I'm a Bucs fan, but in terms of a football mind, in terms of understanding what they're doing defensively, and they are assembling a stick over there. It's coming together. I don't know who the quarterback going to be right now. I guess it's Desmond Ridder. They'll roll with him, but they're assembling a stick, and them going Christian Gonzalez here would be, stellar. But I'm hearing Nolan Smith. He said, "Hey, man, Falcons look like they don't want to kind of keying in on me. They're talking to me." So that would also be a good fit for those. I know Headley talked about it. If you can't go pass rush, which not a lack of trying for those guys, you go corner. You know what I'm saying? Give those guys up front a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. But if it's Nolan Smith here, hey, man.
Yeah, Drew, you bring up a good point there. That's actually where I wanted to go next. So you stepped on my shot again.
Man, my bad. I'm all over.
That's okay, though. No. It's all right. It's all right. That means you're on point. That means you're on point there. Headley, you mentioned it. That you think the challenges or the struggles in terms of the pass defense are perhaps more a byproduct of not being able to affect the passer on a consistent basis. So, yes, Gonzalez is a terrific prospect. I imagine he's in your top 5 overall as far as all prospects are concerned. Do you perhaps prioritize the edge rusher here? If you do, who's the guy?
Drew said it. Nolan Smith. I think him and Ojulari is next on my board, but you know what's going on with Ojulari. He's sliding down a little bit, but those two are the next guys up. But I think I got Christian Gonzalez over both of those guys. So Christian Gonzalez would be the pick for me here, and maybe we get some passes later on in the draft. We drafted Arnold Ebiketie last season. Maybe he progresses a little better. So yeah, I like Christian Gonzalez. That's where I'll go for if I was the Falcons.
Okay. All right. So really the emphasis is on best player available, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, considering the defensive talent in this particular class. So makes sense.